Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Top Podcast. First things first, we will be discussing Alien by Ridley Scott. This movie is rated R and has some pretty mature themes. So if you are a young, under 18, mute the video, leave it running so our retention rate doesn't suffer, but go seek parental guidance before continuing on. And if you are above 18, viewer discretion is advised. Second things second. With Alien Earth dropping soon, we're going to be releasing a new series on the channel with myself and First Mate Dan from our Speculation on the Switch 2 episode. If you want to learn more about Dan, you can go check that episode out. It was a good one, short but sweet. And returning by popular demand, Hot Kyle. The three of us are going to break down each episode as they come out and discuss it. And just leading up to that, we're all going to go through at least Alien 1, Alien 2, Alien 3, Alien Romulus, and whatever else we have time and desire to consume. So how's everybody doing?
Doing great. Good to be back on the podcast, guys. How are you?
Doing awesome.
And I'm
happy
here
to
too.
be back.
Rob's also excited to be here.
Thanks for having me back, Mike. I appreciate it.
Oh, anytime, man. Anytime. So as is tradition, we like to get started with an icebreaker. This week, Hot Kyle is bringing the heat. What do you got for us, baby?
All right. This just came to me, actually. But if you had to pick a death by xenomorph, what type of death are you getting? Whether that is a face hugger and a chest, an alien coming out of your chest, or getting acid spilled on you, or getting stabbed with the tail, or eaten with the little baby mouth. If you had to pick a death by alien, which one are you going with?
It's an easy question for me.
I think it's got to be tail.
No.
What do you want?
Give me getting stabbed in the head, quick, instant with the little baby thing. It's painless.
Yeah,
you won't see it coming.
I'm a wimp. I'm there too.
Well, sure, but
why get impaled?
The baby thing doesn't always seem to go for the face.
I was gonna say,
well, you said how I would choose. You said I could choose, so.
Well, I mean,
That's
yeah.
my choice.
If we get to choose, then I'll take the head, but I'll still take the tail, but I'll take it to the face. The point is absolutely no acid and absolutely no face huggers, please and thank you.
Yeah, I know. That face hugger is it's just like intrusive. Thinking about it sliding down your throat like that, and then staying there. Oof.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No.
Tail or mouth, those seem to be, I guess, the quickest, like, least painful deaths. I'm not going with acid.
Yeah, and we're gonna try and avoid spoilers for anything after Alien 1 in case you haven't seen this 79?
79. Like me, I've
79
first
classic
one.
or any of its sequels. So Alien 1 is fair game. Anything past that, because Rob hasn't seen them, we're gonna try to avoid.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. That's
Awesome.
That's crazy, Rob. You got to be doing this podcast, man. There's a lot I want to get your take on.
I was gonna say you only mentioned like 4 movies. Isn't there like 6 or 7? There's Prometheus. Isn't there like Genesis or something like that?
There's Covenant.
That's what it is. Covenant. I was thinking, and Resurrection.
Yeah,
I watched
I've seen
AVP.
all of them except 4.
So
AVP is fun, man.
As a middle schooler, I liked it. I haven't watched it since then.
I mean, we'll get to it potentially. Bonus episode. If we hit our Patreon goal or our Kickstart goal, maybe we'll get to it. But
I think it's important for the podcast for us to acknowledge the movies that fall short and determine why they are falling short and how they kind of like fall off from what made the Alien and Aliens so great.
That's fair.
Because I think we should. They get ridiculous later on, and then we have Prometheus, which doesn't even have the same style. So I think there is a lot to break down, even if the movies aren't as good as these first few.
Absolutely.
Light spoiler from Prometheus. All I know is there's a birthing scene. My buddies that went and saw it in the theater were not ready for it.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm not even convinced it's the worst birthing scene in the series anymore.
Oh, whoa.
Wouldn't be the only one.
Romulus gets a little crazy.
Woo! Yeah, probably even worse, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was intense.
You'll see.
You'll see.
Okay, but hey, I do want to ask. Yeah, for everybody, there's a director's cut and there's a theatrical version. Do you guys know which one you saw?
I saw the theatrical.
I don't.
I've seen both at some point.
Nice.
I
Okay.
probably have also seen both at some point. The DVD that I watched most recently, I just checked, it just says Alien. And I threw away all my DVD boxes in favor of sleeves a long time ago, so I don't really know how to check.
Why would you do that? Why?
Because I moved, and then I'm moving again shortly, and I was like, there are so many of these, and I don't want to deal with it. Now I just carry them everywhere, and it's so much more efficient. But that's not what we're here for.
There's a lot I want to unpack there, but we're going to move on.
We'll save that for a regular podcast.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, Dan, I believe you kind of know what the difference is between the two.
Yeah, so there's quite a few differences sprinkled in there, just some afterthoughts that came after the movie was originally published. And the one that I'll talk about, just to kind of set the scene for it, is we'll talk about Brett. And for those listeners who aren't super familiar with the characters, he's the guy with the hat, and I think he's the first or second death. But he goes into a corridor in the ship where there's water coming down from the ceiling, and there's chains hanging. And you can tell the difference between the theatrical and director's cut from this scene, because in the theatrical version that originally came out in '79, the xenomorph peeks its head over the wall to try and see where the guy's at, but also as a viewer, you can see where the alien is hiding in plain sight, kind of. Mm-hmm. But it was thought that that wasn't quite in plain sight enough. So in the extended cut, he is actually hanging from the ceiling, blending in with the chains. And if you know what you're looking for, it is blatantly obvious that he's right there in front of Brett. And Brett is literally drinking water from the xenomorph, it's dripping off.
What?
Oh.
Yeah.
No way.
I missed the xenomorph in the theatrical one.
Yeah, it is literally just almost in a fetal position, just hanging from the ceiling, rocking back and forth in the air. And it's just so surreal when you notice it.
I did have a question about the scene. Where's this water coming from, and why is it just in a ship, this dripping water? It made no sense to me. I'm like,
question.
The cinematic looks great, but why you'd be wasting water? That's such a...
I think me and Dan asked that exact question when we watched it together. But my best guess, I think we came up with life support, potentially. If he's somewhere near the life support bay, that's some kind of a cooling system is definitely a possibility.
Well, you wouldn't want your cooling system leaking, because then it's not being as efficient. You want your cooling system intake sealed off, and preferably not water. You want something better.
Here's the thing, man. They're still using pens in 2127 or whatever.
Hey, I'm still using pens now. So
they clearly isn't their top priority.
I can't wrap my head around justifying it. I want to justify the water in the ship, but honestly, in any other circumstance, if there wasn't an alien, everyone should be pretty freaking concerned about the water falling from the ceiling. I wouldn't. This is a problem. Is this gonna rust? You gotta deal with that.
Also, if could be some kind of condensation, though. I mean,
that's another thought we had.
Go for it.
Go on.
I was gonna
I did not notice an alien. Oh, go on.
Go. Sorry, I'll stop.
I did not notice an alien hanging from the chains, though, and that's brilliant that it was right there and I didn't even see it.
I think I've seen the director's cut. Sorry, I'm just waiting for. I hear a little pause. Now's the chance. Go. I think I've seen the director's cut before, because when I was watching it yesterday, I'm like, oh, the alien's up there, but then he wasn't. So I think I've seen both of them.
Every time, I swear, I thought it's because we're recording on a different day. Darn it.
Okay, so I do have to say though, this is my first time watching Alien as a kind of since becoming a movie maker. I think the first time I saw it, I was I think either in high school or just out of high school, and it felt really slow in the beginning, and I was just waiting for the alien to come out. And this time I went in with fresh eyes to appreciate every step of this journey. And honestly, this movie is a masterpiece through and through. I was completely blown away by the quality of cinema, from the very first moments of the movie all the way to the end. I think I saw the director's cut. It's on Hulu right now. And man, that movie take its time up front. But when you look at the set design and how detailed everything is, both on their ship and in the alien ship, H.R.
The
Geiger.
Alien ship is one of the most impressive things I think I've ever seen, especially considering this movie came out in '79.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and you think about the brilliance of how they manipulated like miniatures and or models at that time. You know, when you first see the alien ship, it's brilliant how they do it because the characters are walking through a storm, and you see the alien ship through the blurry cameras we're getting from like the fronts of their suits. So you get this really blurry, staticky image of this ship in the distance, and you know, realistically, that thing's what, less than a foot long. Like that is not, you know, that's a tiny model. But the cleverness in how they used it allows it to seem very grand and very scary and very mysterious. And as a filmmaker, I was blown away by the creativity in delivering that.
Yeah, it's the one that like rocked my world was the scene where he's like belaying down when he's about to find the face huggers. And it's this crazy wide shot where
Yes.
I was like, is this like a mini set and they're somehow zooming out and using like just lowering an action figure down the wall or something? Because the idea of somebody having to make that whole set for like what 10 seconds of footage.
Yeah.
Well, it could also be like
just
a
insane.
painting. So I know one thing, if you go and watch like a lot of like the Star Wars behind the scenes, they'll like they'll shoot a little bit and like have a little bit of a set, and then they'll take a film over that and like basically paint over it and overlay that on top, so it looks like it's this full like huge set. That's how they did a lot in Star Wars. So I'm wondering if they did something similar because that technology was readily available after that.
I imagine there was some of that in there for sure, but Mike, I remember we had this conversation when we saw that wide angle shot. Like, is it a miniature? Is it just a really good set for that first belay scene? I ended up looking into it, and it turns out that it is a practical set that they built, and to achieve that scale, they actually took Ridley Scott's kids and put them in because they were smaller, so that it achieves a larger scale because they're so much shorter.
The Peter
And
Jackson
you don't even
maneuver.
notice. Yeah.
That's
So
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's a nice little trick, and because they're wearing the suits, you don't even notice. So it's
I
like
had no idea.
so quick, so subtle. Like,
Yeah, well, and I really liked the juxtaposition of, you know, all these humans. They're really trapped in this confined, very claustrophobic ship, and that's just like their normal life. That's their day job. And then you go to this alien ship, and it's so grandiose. They feel so small in the face of like not only this ship but the greater universe that they know nothing about. And I really like that juxtaposition. The only time we really get a big wide shot is when we're on the planet or out in the space station, or on the alien ship. Everything is so spread out, and then on their ship, it's all so crammed and tight and kind of packed in.
Do they ever answer who that giant alien is they find that's like fossilized?
Yes.
I think it gets touched on in Prometheus.
The type of alien, yes, not specifically who he is, but we do dig into the origins of these ships as a whole.
Okay, just wondering.
Yeah.
I really love, like you were saying, the movie takes its time. And that I didn't think about that juxtaposition. That is brilliant. But one of the things that jumped out to me is once the movie starts building in tension, all the flashing lights that are going on since the very beginning of the movie, they're just like at the beginning, it's like, oh, cool, this is just set design. It's a spaceship. And then it's like there's an alien, and slowly these lights that you didn't think anything about are just stressing you out, and they create this like subtle anxiety effect in the back of your head where it's like, oh, it's too much.
No seizure warrant at the start. That's one thing Becca pointed out.
Well,
I know.
I don't think there was bright flashing lights. It was just like
at the end there was
lights on your computer. Yeah,
very.
But and I really appreciated like how they would shine lights that would just be words on people's faces. You know, they'd be looking at a monitor and they would shine the letters popping up on their faces. So the lighting effects through and through were some of like. It was something I really noticed as well, that it created tension, it did good world building, and just kept every shot so much more engaging. Like, there was so much detail in the light work.
Which is wild, because when Bo Burnham released, what is it called, 8th Grade? Like, one of the big things he was praised for was the way he innovated with light. And they're like, yeah, he used the lights off the cell phones in ways that, like, nobody's done before. And it's like, oh, well, apparently it just hasn't been, like, done since Ridley Scott in 1979.
Nice.
But, you know, still... it's wild to think that those two had the same idea, or more likely he was inspired by it. But
can I just touch on one more thing I really appreciated going this watch of the movie as like a writer and everything? I really liked how the story immersed you into, you're just like, what is going on? But then like you're in this, you have the same feeling as the characters because they just wake up nowhere close to where they're supposed to be, and they're wondering the same thing, what is going on. Like, that's a really cool like storytelling trick where it's like, yeah, your characters also don't know what the heck's going on, so you're like with them almost in that sense.
Yeah, well, and I was engaging with the plot they were starting to build up in just being a human in this corpo-run world, right? All of these humans, they just need a paycheck, and they're kind of slaves to whatever the corporate machine tells them to do. The literal machine tells them to do, because that's like, what else you need a paycheck, like what else can you do? And so I like this really bleak universe it builds where, yeah, for work, for the systems that are in place, no one actually has any freedom. You wake up, you do exactly what you're told, and then you go back to sleep.
When did the first Blade Runner come out? Because that has very similar vibes in that sense.
Had to have been around the same time frame.
Yeah.
They were, I think Ridley Scott has actually come out and said outright that they are connected, even though there's not direct... Like, I don't know that there's anything in the movie that, like, outright proves it. I could be wrong. I just know that it's understood that even though there's no direct crossover, the movies are set in the same universe.
Because he directs both of them, right?
Yeah, no idea.
Hold on, you said set in the same universe?
They're both directed by Ridley Scott. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa, at least, yeah, okay, that's awesome. You've got the androids and everything.
Blade Runner, that's all I'm saying, than the first one. But that's a different discussion.
That's a different discussion, yeah.
Dan, what was next up?
Dan, I know
I was going to say, what's next up? I know you had a lot of questions. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
This Monday's throwing us all off.
Right.
So I guess like one of the things we can start with is like, the alien itself. So, over the years it has evolved from being a guy in a suit into CGI and yeah, with the jazz hands, my favorite part of that movie. But, what are your guys' thoughts? Like, is it still a scary creature 50 years later? Does it still have the same effect it did when it came out? Or do CGI really have to come in to actually keep this thing relevant? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think both can be true kind of at the same time. I think it is still scary, but it's more scary because of how well the story is told and the movie is shot. But I think the CGI upgrades allowed it to stay relevant in an ever updating landscape, like I think it's scary on its own, but it doesn't feel as scary compared to what else has come out since.
I could agree with that, and I mean, like we kind of talked about it too, but it's noticeable that the one in this movie moves very slowly, almost confused at times.
Nice.
Kind of sleepy. I'm not sure if that's just a side effect of the environment it was birthed in per se, but
cool.
I suspect it was a direct result of being the first movie, and later movies deciding it'd be even cooler if it moved fast.
Yeah,
because it definitely compared to some of the later ones, I'm like, this is the perfect organism, and it's just taking a stroll to catch Ridley, giving her all the time in the world.
Hey, it was just a baby. But it's been like a day.
Well, and so something that like somebody told me a while ago that has always stuck with me is like there's nightmare scary and then there's keep you up at night scary. And like the difference is there's a certain type of scary where you're sitting in your room and you have the lights on and you're so freaked out that you can't settle down. And then there's the type of scary where if you were in that position, you would be absolutely terrified if you were on an alien ship. Like that's the worst kind of situation you could be in. Like that's an absolute nightmare. But I think because this universe paints such a clear picture and does so much world building, it's easy to disassociate once you walk out of the theater. Like I've never been at home alone at night, like scared of the alien. But in the movie, as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh man, like if I was in that position, I'd be terrified. But it's interesting. I don't know. I guess personally, as I'm talking about it, I don't know if I'm ever like, I guess scared per se. There's intensity and there's some gore and there's some grossness at times, but I don't know if I'm ever like really like afraid, if that makes sense. Not in the same way as like I don't know, other horror movies can trigger that like intensely gripping. I mean, like it's intense, but it's not scary. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like the only jump scare is the jazz hands, for the most part. Like that's the only, and the jazz hands kind of ruin it.
Yeah. Well, and it's part of that is like the times too. Again, because like everyone I've ever heard talk about going to see this movie in the theaters had no idea what they were getting into. Like the bar for what horror movies were was different. It was lower. Yeah, and so like people were absolutely crap their pants terrified by this movie. And then now it's like when I compare this to my literal lasting physical reaction after seeing Alien Romulus in theaters, it took me like 2 hours to calm down after that movie. It's like, you know, does it, you know, is Alien as scary on that level? No, it's not. It doesn't. It's not at the same level. But that's the kind of thing with horror is there's that steady, you get used to it, and so they have to up the intensity bit by bit. And 50 years later, it's like, what do you want from it, man? We've cranked up the intensity 500-fold at this point. It can't be expected to meet that same standard.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the most iconic alien monsters of, the past 40 years. So we've all seen it a million times. A lot of the original, like, mystery is gone just inherently, just from seeing it. I mean, at one point you could play a xenomorph in a Mortal Kombat game. Like, they've definitely, it's just, the fear level has been diluted because we've seen it so many times and know all of its tricks. So I bet if you didn't know, because you even think about the poster for this movie, right? It was just the egg, like, and said, in space no one can hear you scream. Nobody knew what to expect.
Yeah, that was the trailer. It was like silence and no one can hear you scream. It, like, had a cat hissing, but I don't think it showed the alien at all.
It didn't show the alien at all, and like so,
that's a good move.
Mm-hmm.
It's brilliant because then as it's slowly, the facehugger thing must have been nuts to see for the first time.
Chest bursting, yeah.
Whole process.
Oh my god! Everything. Speaking of that, can we just take a moment? I have a note written down, which is, why would you stick your face in anything you find in space? Like
he had a visor.
Like, it opened up.
He had a helmet on, though. That's the thing.
He thought it was good. Yeah.
I would think it was good if I had a helmet on.
Okay, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's that personal prior knowledge. I don't know.
That's a lot of faith in glass. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, it's probably plastic, like a synthetic plastic. What all plastic?
Realistically, probably, but
yeah, still, just in general, like I got all sorts of tools. Yeah, it's like this is. I don't know.
Fair enough. I would just expect something in an egg to be like the Velociraptor scene in Jurassic Park 1 where like it slowly hatches. Like you don't expect something to leap at your face. You expect to see some kind of, prepubescent creature.
Shout out to Kane though, for all the Doctor Who fans out there. He's the war doctor.
Oh, he totally is. Yes. Yeah.
Threw Becca for a loop when I told her one of the doctors is in the movie.
That's awesome.
For a little bit.
Yeah. Do you guys, speaking of Alien, and we talked about kills earlier, do you guys have a favorite kill in the movie?
Ooh. I do.
Yeah, what do you got?
Well, I mean, we kind of touched on it already, but for me, it's got to be Dallas. Just because, like, I'm sure somebody's going to touch on the chest burster, so I'll leave that one to the side. But the Dallas scene, like, the whole suspense of being in an air duct, and all you have to go off of is a bleeping light to know where it is, because you literally cannot see it. You don't know where it is. You know that it can move quickly. It hides in plain sight. That's horrifying. It's kind of like that feeling of you see a spider in your room, and then you lose track of it. You know it's there, but you don't know where the hell it is. So it's like, I don't know. It recreates that sense of dread, and I think it does it really well.
I do think that's like the strong point of the movie too, is tension and dread. It's just like it might not be as like heart-poundingly terrifying as some of the later entries, but the way it just draws it out is just, it's a masterclass. For me, Chestburster has got to be the best kill. And if I recall, the rest of the cast didn't know it was going to burst out of his chest like that.
Yeah.
So you got genuine reactions, which I always love. What about you, Rob?
One thing I want, because I'm not going to say Dallas, but one thing I want to touch on that is when I was watching, I was like, man, that was like a real flamethrower he's using. That must have been hot, the film in that corridor. So he has this little flamethrower there.
Wow. Yeah. That's so funny. I didn't even think about that. They didn't think of special effect of flamethrower back then. No. You're actually shooting flames out.
I'm going to say, I think chestburster is the right answer, but I'm going to say the alien death because you're like, man, this thing can survive the vacuum of space. Like, it doesn't even need oxygen. You're like, oh, it's dead. It's finally done. It's going to, crystallize from the cold vacuum of space. But nope, it's still going. You just have to burn that mother effer away.
Well, seriously, I mean, the alien doesn't even eat. It just kills.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't sit there and consume the flesh. It kills and moves on. And so it doesn't need anything to survive. That's part of what makes it so scary. Something I do want to... Okay, actually, well, first I want to say I did note that Dallas was the only death that we actually didn't get to see die on screen. He got dragged away.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
Which to me, at first, I was watching that and I was wondering if we were going to come back, if he wasn't killed immediately like the others were. Because everyone else got some bloody, gory death, but Dallas was taken away. And I found that very curious. Jazz hands.
Just gave him a big hug.
Yep. Face hugger.
And then something I want to talk about when it comes to the alien design. I feel like I feel like, Michael, I think we talked about this, and maybe Dan, you were part of this talk too, but like, do we know if any part of the alien's design was phallic in nature? Was there some sort of like...
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that.
I don't remember the guy's name, but the guy who's like in charge of art design is
H.R. Geiger.
famous. Yes,
He
Geiger.
designed the alien. He designed all the alien ship. Like, yeah. I mean, did he design... I don't know if he designed the human ship as well, but he had his hands all over this thing. It's so clearly his iconic style.
Like, he's very famous for trying to blend the alien and the sexual on purpose to create this like horrible tension. And so, yeah, all the imagery is on purpose.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's really good to know, because I didn't really clue into that much until who is it? Who's the chick that's like screaming? And
Not
Lambert.
Yeah. Lambert.
Yep.
The tail, like, it slowly comes up between her legs, and there's something really like intimate about it, like the slow creeping nature of it, and then like it kills her from down there, and it like I remember being like, oh wait, this is actually, it's a little rapey, like this is really intimate and weird. Like that was the only time I really like picked up on it. Did anyone else get vibes like that? Like,
I missed the part where the tail went up from the down under.
Yeah, am I crazy for that? Is it that director's cut only or what?
I've definitely seen it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just accepted it. I was like, that's probably true, knowing this franchise.
I couldn't tell you which cut, but it's definitely a cut.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Rob, I know you said you'd watched a documentary that also touched on that.
No, it was so one of my friends who voiced one of our shorts on a side project me and Mike do. She is a big Alien fan, but so I asked her if she had any questions, like when we were kind of talking about this before Dan gave us his whole big giant thesis of questions. But yeah, she basically said that like it was designed to like trigger like to have men understand in a way almost like what the threat of being raped, because like she's like, as a woman you like that threat is very real, and like men don't understand it, so that was one of the goals, was like to kind of have that dread in it. I can pull up her message that she sent exactly, but that was kind of the gist of it. Trying to simulate that feeling.
And I think the face hugger does that to just such a unbelievable degree compared to everything else.
I mean, the visual of seeing the X-ray of like how far down his throat it is, it's just disturbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not to get too spoilery, but some of the stuff they do with face huggers in later entries is just like, you get some of the more like,
especially.
Oh yeah, that scene was like, oh.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll just leave it there. But
the documentary is called "Memory: The Making of Alien" for anyone interested.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome.
I do gotta say, I think Rook is such a brilliantly written character. Like, knowing that he's an AI going into it, if you pay attention to his acting, like that guy is always up to something. He's always hiding something. Like his performance was absolutely brilliant, and the writing is brilliant. For him to be the only one that actually knows what's really happening here, but to keep pushing these people into kind of getting into trouble and getting them killed while trying to act innocent. And I mean, like, so there's a scene where he's looking at the X-rays of the guy who has the face hugger on him. Like he's down, and Rook is looking at the X-rays, and you can tell he clues in on the fact that there's a chest burster in there. There's a baby, and Ripley comes up to him, and he very quickly he turns off the screen, and he's like, "Yeah, no," he completely hides what he was doing, and it's one of those things. The first time I saw it, there's no way I picked up on that. But knowing what what you know after seeing it the first time and paying attention to what's on the X-rays, there's these real subtle clues to these things that are going to happen that I think first-time viewers had almost no idea about, unless you're really paying attention to those minute details.
Well, and you just wouldn't think there's going to be androids. It's kind of almost a random thing. Be it makes sense, but it is kind of random. I feel like
that's kind of my one complaint about it, actually, because I agree with everything you said. Like the acting and the portrayal are all fantastic, but I did kind of wish, I was like, it'd have been nice if we could have got any kind of foreshadowing that robots were a thing. That does kind of cheapen the twist or the reveal a little bit in my mind. But no fault to Rook and I don't know the guy who played. I did not memorize my actor names, but
Ian Holm.
Yeah,
Nice.
Ian Holm. Yes.
Oh, Bilbo.
Bilbo Baggins.
That's wild that's the same guy.
Yeah. One thing, I didn't think of it to look until I think 10, 15 minutes in the movie, but I don't think Rook blinks once. That's one thing I decided. I'm like, does he blink? Because I didn't notice. Like I said, I didn't start looking to it until already in the movie. But I'm like, I'm gonna see if he blinks to see if that's a telltale sign. And I think when he was injured, his eyes move a little bit, when they're fighting him. But for the most part, I didn't see him blink at all.
That's brilliant. That's so awesome. I do also want to note something I noticed as a filmmaker that was also brilliant was that they took every kind of transition of characters moving from one place to another, or any task or any job, and made it as kind of drawn out and as cinematically interesting as possible. When Dallas goes to talk to Mother, he doesn't just pick up a phone or a communicator. He walks into a private room, gets in a chair that rotates. There's all these lights, and he does all
small.
this, yeah, and does all this typing. When they're they've got a small ship that goes down to the planet. You get this epic sequence where we're seeing the ship from the outside and all these pieces, these parts kind of slowly detaching and readying for launch. But we're hearing the audio of the countdown over the footage of all this stuff happening. And so I don't know if it was just the director's cut, but it was really long and really drawn out. But it was just so interesting. You do this, you get world building through just watching how this sci-fi universe functions.
Yeah, that element, the world building is so good.
Yes.
That's one of the things that really does get me excited for Earth, is just I want to know more about the company. I'm interested in that whole thing. And
come on.
Is it Wayland? Is that the company again?
Yeah.
Wayland Utah.
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember if that was Blade Runner or this.
Something I will say.
Go on.
Sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
No, you please go ahead.
Something I just wanted to chime on what Mike was saying without spoiling anything for Prometheus. When that movie came out, they had a marketing website, actually, if I recall, where they literally had a timeline of the Alien universe building up to the first Alien movie, and you could see the progression of the Wayland company transforming into Wayland Yutani, and then how the world becomes more normalized to androids and whatnot. There's all these milestones. Don't know if that website still exists, but it was really cool when it came out.
Yeah, I've watched a couple YouTube videos on the history, and it's in depth and it's complicated.
And what really excites me about Alien Earth, so Alien Earth is a prequel, and as you find out in this movie, Earth sent these people on this mission to pick up the alien and come back. Whatever job they thought they were doing, they were completely lost. I even did you catch Dallas saying that he's never worked with Rook before, that he's had a science officer for years and years, but on this job specifically, they switched it to Rook. And so the whole crew has been set up, which means the Corpos, they knew that this was here. They've done this before. Who knows how many other missions that they possibly have sent that have come back empty-handed. And so to dig into the history of how the Corpos even found this to begin with, and how many crews they sent to go and get it is really interesting. Because even after this movie, that's just another ship that never came home. You're going to tell me the Corpos wouldn't just send another ship to go try to get a specimen? Who knows how many crews came here and did the same exact thing, being guided by androids. And that's what excites me about Alien Earth, is kind of exploring more of the lore of what led to this movie and then what could have happened after it.
That's a really good. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about the fact that how do we know this is the starting point? You don't.
We don't at all.
Yeah.
Crew expendable. Like they very much expected this to happen.
Well, you know the crew's expendable because why does the escape pod or the escape shuttle only hold 3 people for a 7-person crew? That doesn't check up.
Wow, what a great observation.
I noticed that they're like, it won't hold 4 people. So minimum, that's 3. I'm like, and you're a 7-person crew. Like, there's some jank going on. It's like the Titanic, you know? Like, we don't need it.
I got rock, paper, scissors if it comes down to it.
Yeah. Draw straws. That's what they say.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. If you're in one of those ships when they explode and you have to be in all 7 of the explosions that they show us, like, that's a horrible way to go.
Well, you probably.
And we're still going. And we're still going. Yeah. I mean, speaking of the explosions, one of my only complaints, and I don't have many complaints about this movie. I really, really enjoyed it, seeing it as a filmmaker now. But one of my only complaints is that Ripley goes to set off the self-destruct, and then when the alien's blocking her way out, she like almost goes to try to undo it, tries to like turn off the self-destruct.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, part of me was like, look, if you're the last survivor, you kind of have an obligation to just bite the bullet and let the ship blow up, even if you're not dead yet.
Well, she had to save Jones. Come on, there's one more survivor.
I actually liked that moment because for me it's like it's a really human moment of it just shows like we all think of Ripley as like the hero of the Alien franchise, but in this movie she's just trying to get home.
Yep.
Like she's just trying to stay alive. This is all she really cares about is getting home and seeing her daughter. And it's subtle and it's like she's like she's not trying to be the hero. She just wants to get out and survive. And so I kind of like that moment of it's like you didn't want to do this. You don't want to be the hero, but now you don't have a choice. And it's not traditional. You know, the traditional thing is for the character to decide, okay, I'm going to face this thing. And that's their big moment. But for her, it's like, sorry, dude, you don't have a choice.
Yeah. Well, and come on, there is really good dread when she misses it by just a few seconds.
Right.
Like when she's watching the process happen and she's literally trying to physically stop it and she can't do it. I do like that moment. I think is really solid because as a first time watcher, for a second you're like, oh, is she gonna do it? And it's like, nope. And now you only have a few minutes till everything's blown up.
Does this cat have a backstory? Why is she so obsessed with this cat?
Okay, I want to ask what everybody's theories are as to why the cat was not killed.
Well,
and I have a theory.
Here's a crazy theory. So the alien doesn't show any interest in the cat. I think the cat might be a corpo spy because we know cats are always trying to kill their owners. So this whole thing is orchestrated by the wailing cats. That's where they're at. That's my theory. Also, the cat doesn't seem to cryo sleep, so it's obviously not human. It's not biological, so obviously it has to be an AI cat. Bam.
Oh my god.
I do gotta say, I love that. I love that there's a cat in the movie because the cat's the only free character. Like this cat has just managed to survive amongst a crew and not get in the way enough to perpetually survive. And the cat is the only one that survives the alien. It's the only one that doesn't have a problem with the corpos. Like it's just a typical cat, and it's still just getting by like cats do nowadays. But in this crazy sci-fi
and it watched
universe.
with delight as that guy with the hat died. It was just like, yes, my plan is coming to fruition.
I think maybe the alien didn't kill the cat because it just like it was a game recognized game kind of thing. Yeah. It was like I'm evil, you're evil. We'll just like we can go our own way.
Let's let bygones be bygones.
I was wondering if essentially the xenomorphs are engineered to only kill the species that they pop out of. So if a facehugger gets a human and bursts out, is it now just biologically programmed to only kill what it knows?
Alien 3.
With the dog?
Spoiler!
Whatever, bro. It's with the dog is all I say.
I can't get emotionally attached to the dog.
Like that. It's not even, trust me, I'm not even convinced. I don't remember what the thing is. I just know it's a quadruped. The point is that theory is definitely not, it has been debunked by a movie that I'd never watch really, but.
We'll cover this more in Alien 3, because the question is, are xenomorphs cat people and not dog people?
Probably.
Do they have a preference?
Whoa. All right, this is going to be a running gag. I'm here for it.
But keep your eyes out for other kills, because I will discuss this after Alien 3.
Because I was wondering if, and without getting too much into later movies, there's the idea that maybe these things were made to be weapons, like they were genetically engineered to be killers. So it would make sense to engineer it to only kill what is it based out of. It gets to know human DNA and then hunts for it, smells it, and destroys all of that.
Also, I'm pretty sure in AVP 2, I haven't seen it, but the alien's also hunting humans. So
that's true. And
after
in
affecting
AVP 2, and look, I'm going to tell you right now, this is a spoiler, but that movie is
I've heard
hot garbage.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I don't plan on watching it.
The alien in Alien vs. Predator 2 is the Predalien. It came out of a predator.
Yep. It's the very end of AVP.
Kills plenty of humans. So. But I don't think
I wouldn't count
take canon from the AVP movies. I've seen people try it. It gets real confusing.
Well, apparently Blade Runner is the same universe, so it's going to get all
I think it's the same kind of concept, though. I think it's really more like Ridley Scott is like, nope, they're in the same universe, but I think Alien Earth is going to really lock in that that's not possible.
That's exactly.
Tyrell, the Wayland Corporation, same thing, different divisions.
Maybe. We'll see.
Well, yeah, corporate run worlds at the end of the day.
Could be.
Dan, I want to hear some more of these questions you got for us.
Okay. So, pulling up my list here, another question that I had come up with is, the ship itself. So, like, one of the things that I thought of when watching this movie is, like, I would look at the Nostromo and I'm like, why does it feel so dark and dainty and just uncomfortable to look at? But you look at a ship like in Star Wars and I don't get that same feeling, but you're still in a spaceship. Like, what is it about the Nostromo that feels so restricting and so
probably the lighting,
depressing?
I would say.
Yeah.
Well,
mostly lighting.
I kept equating it to basically the equivalent of an industrial factory here on Earth nowadays. Like, this ship was not built to be pretty. It was not built to appease the mind. It was built to do a job. And these humans are nothing more than, they're kind of machines like for them to use at the end of the day. These humans are nothing more than workforce. So this ship was not built like with their comfort whatsoever. It was strictly built to do a job. And I was paying close attention to the walls. And if you look, it almost looks like, everything is just there's all these like white plates on the walls that have these like sections jutting out where it looks like there's just tubing for wires, tubing for any kind of fluids. It's just all they're doing is covering up the underbelly of how a ship fully functions, and that's it. There's nothing else like made for human comfort. It is just the bare minimum to keep this mobile industrial station up and running.
So it's basically like a space oil rig off the coast of Greenland.
Hey now.
Yes, exactly.
They have their charms.
I mean, that kind of is exactly what it is. So.
You can spice it up. I've seen people spice it up. I think that could be like a good in the universe way, but I think like the lighting and the kind of the design of it is for that. Because if you pop a white, like a Millennium Falcon, like whitish gray coat of paint on that and have like lights coming out, I think it looks a lot more lively and a lot more friendly, but it's set in this dark atmosphere. It's always these dark lightings on this the darkness of space, so I think that just adds to the form of dread. So I think that was intentional to not make it this happy place you want to go, because even like it's not like a Freightliner. You think like you go to the UP and you see the freights, they have their own kind of beauty. They're not like splendid to look at, but there's some beauty to it. But no, this is just dark, depressing for a reason.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on where you are too, because like when you think about the mess hall, everything's white lined. Like, it's not Star Trek or Star Wars, but like it's it's livable. It's corporate lodging, but it works. And then the rest, like all the tension scenes are in when they're in like they're in the bays. They're in the parts of the ship that are work areas. You're in corridors that are just meant for like moving from one section of ship to the other. And so you're not always spending most of your movie time in the you're in the bowels of the ship. You're in the the steam room and this, that, and the other thing, and it's not the part that's meant to be front facing. And you even see that in like Alien Isolation. You're in a very similar ship to the Watani. Or I'm sorry, what is Nostromo? Excuse me,
Nostromo.
Yeah, and it's there's like depending on where you are, you're like, oh, this feels just like the Nostromo. But then you'll come out and you're in a corridor that's built as like oh, this is where we can get people to come spend money as the corporation. We're going to put you on a ship. We're going to pay you, and then we're also going to take your money.
Yeah, I had a question about
when you
that
look
when
at
you're done.
last point is when you look at the outside of the Nostromo, it's like a multi-mile long spaceship. So we're only seeing parts of it.
Yes.
Rob, what were you going to say?
So my question was to that. He says, here, let's have one more meal. I'm buying. I'm like, I thought it could be a joke, but also like knowing this world, is it like a mining thing where he is buying them a meal?
Wow.
Like that was my interpretation.
Because I didn't think of that the first time. Then that happened. I'm like, dang, that could actually be what it is.
You actually have to pay for your meals. Mm-hmm. You rack up like a corporate debt, and then it comes out of your paycheck. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
that makes so much sense, and it's so fucked up.
Hey, now watch your profanity.
What did we already give profanity? Did we already give a content warning?
I was gonna say we did hit him with the content warning in this one.
Whatever I fucking want, Rob.
Hey now, this is still coming out of the main one. The side podcast, you guys can do your degenerate stuff, but this is the main episode one.
He's right. I'll keep it to Fraxton. All right, I'll keep it to Battlestar Galactica code.
No, there's no.
No one gets that reference. Okay, never mind. I also wanted to add, on this when you're on this ship, like there isn't really a nice living quarters or anything, because any time that you would be not working, they're just going to put you in cryosleep. It's like if you're out of bed, then you're doing a job. And when you're done with the job and we're moving back home, you go back to cryosleep and then you're not a bother. So I also think it's kind of built to just make them either work or sleep and not do anything in between.
Oh, working.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is literally a cog in the machine at that point. Like sleep, work, eat, and that's all you do. You don't even have a living space. Yeah. Not even a poster on the wall. Like
yeah, it's like not like everybody gets their own room.
Yeah.
Well, you do. It's kind of like a mini room. You get your own pod.
Okay. I just got your text. Dan, can you hit us with more question?
Yeah, so the last one that I have left here that we haven't already covered is sound design. So, like, there's a lot of varying sound in this movie. We kind of talked about, like, the bleeping light in the corridor scene with Dallas already, but, like, it kind of stood out to me that there were scenes in this movie where it's just blatantly quiet, and it's done on purpose, and it does it so well. Like, what kind of value add does it bring to that movie? What does it enhance about the alien itself?
I think with sound design, you're just taking another sense and you're using it to your advantage to create this moment of horror. And so my favorite part was, it gets quiet, and it's so funny because I didn't notice this when I saw Kyle's first feature. But I caught it in Alien because I missed it in What We Become. And when the alien's getting ready to pounce, there's a heartbeat going on in the back.
Oh.
And so like it quiets it down, but then it like gives you these cues, but they're subtle enough that you could just feel them without identifying them. And so I think they're doing these really low things to kind of like it lulls you into a sense of like it's like, oh, okay, it's not the big scary music, I'm safe, but it's also at the same time it's off-putting because you can tell that something isn't right, but it's not something you're going to identify consciously right away on the first like run through.
Yeah, well, I was even noticing there's something so iconic about when he's holding the motion detector and it's beeping, it's making a noise. And so we never have to actually see what like the face of the motion detector, because through the audio, we get this heightening sense of dread. Even while, we're on the radio, like she's like moving right towards you. Like you have this audio. Also, I found that a lot of times they were that was either like from another room or from an announcement over the speaker or from characters elsewhere, and they were talking over the visual. And so, there were scenes where the camera was slowly moving through the ship and it's dead silent. It's kind of peaceful, but you're a little bit at unease. But then in these high intensity moments, you're being barraged with like this, almost like a sense overload, because your ears are so engaged. Even when we're building tension, a lot of movies build tension through silence. And this one built it through all these sounds that keep mounting and mounting and mounting until something. Even when you hear, we don't even see
Okay, what's his name? The guy who was asking about the shares in the beginning.
Parker?
Like, Parker. We don't even see Parker die. We just hear his screams over the radio while Ripley is running through the bowels of the ship. And so the sound design was nuts. Because, it was a choice for them to not even show that death, but just now that we're, it was later in the movie, so we're a little more familiar with the creature. We just have to picture what the hell this thing could be doing to him based on the intensity of his screams. And so there's so much storytelling done in the sound design, as well as just like sound that increased tension and world building at the same time.
Completely agree.
Absolutely.
That was mine. I was really into the sound. The sound and the lights were blowing me away. I do want to ask. So in the end, the alien is on the escape pod as she's getting everything prepped. It sticks its hand out from its resting place and even opens its mouth and sticks its mouth out. Is the alien dreaming? If it's not awake, is it dreaming about killing people? Because what else would an alien dream about other than getting killed? So it reaching out its hands, the jazz hands, and then it just it's sticking its mouth out while it's sleeping. I was like, this is like watching a dog have a dream about a squirrel. The alien's just picturing other kills and dreaming about it. Right?
See, I thought the alien was somehow injured, because it was slammed between the pipes. I thought it was injured and weak, in a weakened state. That's what I thought was happening.
Yeah, something's going on, because I remember being like, why is this thing just sitting there doing nothing? It's
like stone.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks, yeah.
Got into the medicine cabinet before leaving,
Yep. A little too many Tylenols.
The cat gave him the catnip. There we go. The cat wanted to survive. It all comes back to the freaking Jones.
It has to be dreaming. I'm just saying. I don't see another a feasible explanation.
I like that explanation the most, for sure.
I can see that.
Go on.
I mean, this is a big reach here, but I was almost just thinking randomly as we're talking about this, what if it is capable of dreaming because it has a human genome? But I don't know.
Whoa, that's a great thought.
It's a random throwaway, but just thought of it.
But do aliens get tired? Do they need the sleep? I don't know if that's something you find out later, but I was under the impression they just kind of kept on going.
Well, clearly they do.
Yeah.
Literally, this answers it, right? It's not awake when it's sitting there. It's definitely asleep or in some kind of disoriented state. But I think by choice. I don't think we didn't see any injuries occur to it. So by choice, it does go into some kind of hibernation.
It could also, I don't know, maybe there's something, it could be some kind of hypersensitivity to the radioactivity from the explosion. There's a lot of sci-fi jargon you can use to kind of explain it away.
I do love that we open the story with people coming out of cryopods, and we end the story with people going in cryopods.
Okay, so
solid opening scene, closing scene.
That's what I'm saying. That's that's how every alien movie should open and close. Arrive at our location that is thousands of light years away from anything else, and then we can only leave by going back going thousands back home.
So Ridley Scott said he is actually dying in that sense. The whole thing is that he has a very short lifespan, so he's actually dying in that moment. So he's reaching the end of his lifespan. That's what he said in some commentary or something.
But then how would they expect it to survive transit back home?
So they still have the body. Yeah, they probably still want the body. Would still probably be useful with them.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, makes sense. Interesting.
That feels like something that contradicts later movies, but what do I know?
Yeah,
exactly. It feels wrong.
Well, and come on, we're also dealing with 40 years of minds changing and redactions and added lore. Well, now actually the alien.
Well, and Ridley Scott didn't do the second one, right? It was just the
Cameron took over. Yeah,
just like Terminator.
The T2 treatment.
Yeah.
Well, do we have anything else Alien 1 related?
I think we should. Everyone's been really curious what our final grades on this movie are. That's an important factor. Does anyone not have it as an A?
Are we doing numbers? Or are we doing letters?
Let's do numbers, because I think everyone's going to say it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Kyle, you want to go first?
Look, 10 out of 10. Seriously, I really wanted to approach it I keep saying that from a filmmaking standpoint, but it changes your perspective when you see all the detail they're putting into this. And so 10 out of 10. Literally, my only complaint was that Ripley went to go turn off the self-destruct. Everything else I thought was amazing. The writing, the visuals, the alien, the creativity. It was a top-notch movie. I have not seen it and appreciated it this much in my life, so it was great to really soak it in this way, and I thought it was perfect.
Dan?
I would give it a 9, but only because that rating is relative to its sequel. Like, I put the sequel 10 out of 10, and we'll go into that later in the next episode.
Nice.
But this is still a great movie, regardless.
All right, Rob.
I'll give it 9 cat lives out of 9 cat lives.
9 cats.
It's all Jones. Jones is an
Jonesies.
android.
So we got a 10 out of 10, a 9 out of 10, and
I'd give it a 9 out of 10 would be what it is.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is such a hard movie to score for me because it is between a 9 and a 10, and I think ultimately I would go 10 because I don't want to on its own it is a 10. I think comparing it to other things is so unfair because of the massive time difference in real life between them. But there's this part of me that's like, there are other alien movies I would want to watch a little bit more. And so on that level, so very similar to Dan's 9 out of 10, I'm going to go 9.5 out of 10.
Okay.
But that's a super unfair. You could just as easily give it a 10 and I wouldn't hate you for it.
What is the lowest you would accept someone's rating? An 8?
8. Yeah.
Easily.
I'd hear you out on an 8. I'd fight you over a 7.
Don't ask what he'd do on a 5.
It'd still be a fight. I'd just have more joy when I punch you in the face. But awesome. Well, if you guys enjoyed this episode, give us a like. And any of the things we discussed, I would love to hear your thoughts. Arnstein, Ben, I'm sure you guys will have lots of interesting input.
Rachel.
I'd love to hear that. What?
Said Rachel. Big alien fan.
Rachel? Oh, Rachel. Yes. Yeah. From over on Epic Fiction. Actually,
Fiction.
before I do an outro, Eclipse, excuse me. Yeah, you guys want to plug stuff? Rob and Kyle, I know you guys both have some projects you're working on.
You go first,
Rob,
Kyle.
you want to go first? I'll go first. Okay. Yeah, so we are about to reach the season finale of The Inhabitants. YouTube. It does end on a cliffhanger because we're about to start we're about to start pre-production on doing it as a full feature film. And so
It's a cliffhanger because we weren't able to film the end.
So we weren't able to finish it. Yeah, so we're going back in and we're doing it from the top with real
Mike
budget,
had a
with
bunch
real
of
actors.
machine guns and explosions written in that we did not have the money for.
Yes, but we're not going to do it without those machine guns and explosions. But I'm learning how to get funding, and we're on track for Inhabitants to be our first big budget feature film with some name talents. We're about to start that. But please, the best way to support us is to go check out the web series that is on YouTube, because that's what we're using as kind of the proof of concept for what is to come.
Links will be in description.
That and this reality show, shot at the title, Boss Bitch. It's going to be coming to Tubi this summer. I did not film it. I did not come up with the idea, but I'm editing it. It is about as trashy as reality TV can get, and I think a lot of people are going to love it.
In case he cut out for you guys too, he did not write it, he did not film it, but he is the lead editor on this project, which is super cool. And it's coming to Tubi?
It's coming to Tubi, yes.
All right. Gives me a reason to get Tubi.
There we go. It's free.
Tubi's free. That's the best part.
That's what I learned from the commercials.
I did not think that Boss Bitch was going to be the thing to get me to get Tubi, but here we are.
Here we are.
Rob, what do you got going on?
Yeah, so I got Eclipse Fiction. It's a little side project that I'm heading up. Mike is also contributing to it. Basically, we're just trying to put out a couple short stories, narrated with some sound effects and kind of atmospheric presence in the background and everything. We got 2 up so far, but we try to come out 2 a month, depending on, life is busy, so we just kind of put them out as we can. But yeah, you can find that in links in the description, and I think we should be having one of Mike's short stories come out soon.
Yeah, and I'm excited. Rob's gonna narrate what is ironically one of my least favorite ones, but is probably the crowd favorite. So
once I kicked this cold, I didn't want to be like,
Hey,
no one wants to hear the sinusy.
I don't know.
Sexy Dave.
I think Dave sounding sinusy might be appropriate, but for another pod.
Dan, what you got going on? What's going on in your life, Mike?
I mean, I've got this great alien pod, guys. If you want to come.
Whoa, me too. That's great. We should collab.
So yeah, guys, come on and check us back out when Alien Earth comes out, and we'll review each episode as the weeks go on.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm very excited that with this podcast we will have freshly taken in all the Alien movies, and we'll be picking up on the references that are layered within Alien Earth the whole time. It's the showrunner of Alien Earth. It's the same guy that did the show Legion. He did the seasons of Fargo that are on TV. I think he's an absolutely incredible showrunner and writer, and I trust him with the Alien franchise. I think he's gonna do some amazing stuff with it.
Also, everyone join our Discord for our Minecraft server. Go find Dan's house and put a sign on his house saying that you were there with your name on there.
Oh, is that what we're doing now?
Yep. Heard it here first.
Torches weren't bad enough. I got signs.
Go sign your name to Dan's
Pranks
house.
have been so good on the server, but yeah. So I think that covered it. But hey, yeah, comment, subscribe. You guys know the drill. And until next time, remember, Mother Earth is pregnant.
It's the cats.
What?
That's the tagline for Alien Earth.
Oh my gosh.
Mother Earth is pregnant?
Yeah, baby.
Are you sure? That I really just lost a lot of stake in my eyes.
Kyle,
I'm
you
done.
are
Cancel
the father.
podcast.
I swear I've seen that.